The knock came again. Loud. Urgent. Not the casual knock of a neighbor coming to borrow salt or exchange greetings. Something about it felt different. I paused in the middle of sweeping and looked toward the gate. Inside the house, Mama B's voice immediately rang out. Binta. Go and see who it is. I placed the broom against the wall and hurried toward the entrance. My heart was strangely uneasy. When I opened the gate, I found a young man standing outside. He wore a neatly pressed shirt and carried a brown envelope beneath his arm. For a moment, I thought he had come to deliver something to one of our customers. Then he looked directly at me. Good morning. Good morning. Are you Binta? My stomach tightened. Yes. A smile appeared on his face. I've been looking for you. My heartbeat instantly quickened. Looking for me? Nobody ever came looking for me. Before I could respond, Mama B appeared behind me. Who is it? The young man greeted her respectfully. Good morning, Ma. Good morning. He turned back to me. I am from the beauty training center. The words seemed to stop. I felt my breath catch in my throat. Behind me, Mama B stiffened. The young man continued speaking. We tried calling yesterday evening, but your number wasn't reachable. Of course it wasn't. I didn't own a phone. I had borrowed one for the interview. So they came looking for me. Actually looking for me. The thought felt unbelievable. The young man extended the brown envelope. This is for you. My hands trembled as I accepted it. Mama B stepped closer. What is that? Neither of us answered immediately. Slowly, I opened the envelope. Inside was a letter. Official. Stamped. Professional. My eyes moved across the page. The words blurred at first because my hands were shaking. I blinked repeatedly and forced myself to focus. Then I saw the sentence. The sentence that changed everything. We are pleased to offer you the position. For several seconds, I simply stared. Unable to breathe. Unable to think. Unable to move. The young man smiled. Congratulations. My eyes widened. Congratulations. The word echoed inside my head. I had gotten the job. I had actually gotten the job. Not because of pity. Not because someone felt sorry for me. Because I had earned it. Because I was qualified. Because my skills mattered. Tears immediately filled my eyes. I quickly lowered my head. I didn't want anyone to see. But it was too late. Mama B had already noticed. What does it say? She demanded. The young man answered before I could. She got the position. Silence. Complete silence. The kind of silence that feels dangerous. I slowly looked toward Mama B. The expression on her face frightened me. Not because she was shouting. Not because she was angry. Because she wasn't. She looked shocked. Completely shocked. As though something impossible had happened. As though she had never imagined I might actually succeed. The young man continued speaking cheerfully. We were very impressed with her interview. His words only made things worse. You have raised a talented young woman. I nearly laughed at the irony. But nobody else seemed to notice. The young man handed me another document. Orientation begins in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Only 2 weeks. My life could completely change in 14 days. The thought felt unreal. After offering more congratulations, the young man eventually left. The moment the gate closed behind him, the atmosphere changed. Immediately. The happiness disappeared. The excitement vanished. The tension returned. Mama B snatched the letter from my hands. She read every line carefully. Her face grew darker with each passing second. Finally she lowered the paper. No. The word was simple. Cold. Absolute. I stared at her. What? You are not going. The joy I had felt moments earlier began fading. Mama. I said no. Her voice rose sharply. You cannot leave. For the first time, I didn't lower my eyes. I didn't apologize. I didn't retreat. Instead, I stood my ground. I already accepted the interview. You had no right. I got the position. You are staying here. The argument attracted attention almost immediately. Bintu appeared from inside. Papa B emerged shortly afterward. Both looked concerned. What happened now? Bintu asked. Mama B waved the letter angrily. Your sister wants to abandon this family. The statement made me angry. Abandon. As though I had not spent 6 years sacrificing everything for them. As though wanting a future made me selfish. Papa B extended his hand. Let me see. Mama B reluctantly handed him the letter. As he read it, something remarkable happened. A smile appeared on his face. A genuine smile. One I had not seen in years. When he finished reading, he looked directly at me. Proud of you. Those 3 words nearly broke me. Because no one had ever said them before. Not like that. Not sincerely. Not without conditions. Mama B stared at him in disbelief. Proud? Yes. Have you lost your mind? Papa B folded the letter carefully. No. Then why are you encouraging this? His voice remained calm. Because he rarely raised it anymore. Because she deserves a chance. The compound became silent. Mama B looked stunned. Papa B almost never disagreed with her publicly. Never. But today was different. Today something had changed. Perhaps he was finally tired of carrying guilt. Perhaps he was finally ready to do what he should have done years ago. Whatever the reason, he wasn't backing down. Mama B pointed angrily toward me. Who will help at the salon? Nobody answered. Who will handle customers? Still nobody answered. Who will bring money? There it was. The real problem. Not love. Not family. Money. The fear of losing the person who kept the business running. Papa B sighed heavily. Then he spoke quietly. The girl is not an investment. Those words hit everyone. Especially Mama B. For a moment, she seemed speechless. The girl is not a machine. Silence. The girl is not our property. More silence. Finally, he pointed toward me. She is a human being. I felt tears filling my eyes again. Because for the first time in 6 years, someone was saying the things I had always wanted to hear. The things I never had the courage to say myself. Mama B looked around the compound. At the neighbors listening nearby. At Bintu. At me. At Papa B. Then she turned and walked inside without another word. The door slammed behind her. Everyone froze. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The sound echoed throughout the compound. A storm was coming. We all knew it. But strangely, I wasn't afraid anymore. Not the way I used to be. Because something important had changed. Yesterday I was trapped. Today I had options. Yesterday I felt powerless. Today I had proof that my life could be different. And for the first time since arriving in that house as a frightened 14-year-old girl, I allowed myself to imagine something dangerous. Freedom. Real freedom. Not a dream. Not a fantasy. A possibility. As I stood there holding the letter in my hands, I realized something. The hardest part was no longer getting the opportunity. The hardest part would be protecting it. And deep inside, I knew Mama B wasn't finished fighting. Not even close. The real battle was only beginning. The rest of that day passed beneath a cloud of tension. Nobody mentioned the job again. At least not openly. But everyone felt it. The silence at breakfast. The silence at lunch. The silence that followed every glance. It was as if the entire household was waiting for something to happen. Waiting for a storm to break. Mama B remained inside her room for most of the day. She did not go to the salon. She did not speak to me. She barely spoke to anyone. And somehow that worried me more than her shouting. Because anger was familiar. Silence was dangerous. Silence meant she was thinking. Planning. By evening, I was helping close the salon when Bintu approached me quietly. She looked uncomfortable. Almost nervous. Binta. Yes. Can we talk? I nodded. We stepped outside where customers could not hear us. For a moment, she seemed unsure what to say. Then she finally spoke. Are you really leaving? I looked at her. I don't know yet. She lowered her eyes. You deserve the job. The word surprised me. I had expected resistance. Not support. You do? I asked softly. She nodded. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then tears suddenly appeared in her eyes. I didn't know. My heart tightened. Didn't know what? She swallowed hard. I didn't know how bad things were for you. The confession caught me off guard. Bintu looked away. When we were younger, I thought everything was normal. Her voice trembled. I thought you were helping at the salon because you wanted to. A sad smile touched my lips. No child wants that life. She nodded slowly. I know that now. For the first time, I realized something important. Bintu had grown up too. She was no longer the little girl who blindly accepted everything her mother said. She was beginning to see the truth. And perhaps that truth hurt her too. I'm sorry, she whispered. The words nearly broke my heart. Because unlike Mama B, Bintu wasn't responsible. She had simply been lucky. Lucky enough to be born on the other side of the situation. I reached out and squeezed her hand. You don't need to apologize. But I feel guilty. Don't. But. Don't. I smiled gently. You didn't take anything from me. The tears in her eyes finally spilled over. And for the first time in years, the distance between us began to disappear. That night, however, everything changed again. Around 10 o'clock, I was preparing to sleep when I heard raised voices coming from the sitting room. At first, I tried to ignore them. Arguments were common in the house. But then I heard my name. Immediately, I sat upright. The voices grew louder. Mama B and Papa B. Arguing. Really arguing. I carefully moved closer to my door. Their words drifted down the hallway. You are making a mistake, Mama B snapped. No, Papa B replied calmly. We made the mistake years ago. The silence that followed felt heavy. Then Mama B laughed bitterly. So now you want to act like a hero? No. You suddenly remember you're her father. Every word carried years of resentment. Years of frustration. Years of blame. Papa B's voice remained steady. I remember every day. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then Mama B's tone softened slightly. What happens to the salon if she leaves? There it was again. The salon. Always the salon. Papa B sighed. We will manage. How? Somehow. Customers come because of her. I know. Income will drop. I know. We need that money. I know. His repeated answers only made her angrier. Then why are you supporting this? The old man's response came quietly. Because it is the right thing to do. The words seemed to echo through the house. A long silence followed. Then I heard something unexpected. Crying. Very soft. Very quiet. At first, I thought it was Mama B. But it wasn't. It was Papa B. The realization stunned me. I had never heard him cry before. Never. His voice shook as he spoke. She was 14. The room fell silent. Just 14. My chest tightened. We promised to take care of her. Another silence. And we failed. The words struck like a hammer. Because they were true. Painfully true. For several moments, nobody spoke. Then I heard footsteps. The conversation ended. Doors closed. The house became quiet again. But sleep never came. I lay awake for hours staring at the ceiling. Thinking about everything. The job. The future. Papa B. Mama B. The salon. The life I might finally leave behind. Just before dawn, exhaustion finally pulled me into sleep. The next few days moved slowly. Painfully slowly. Every morning I woke wondering whether Mama B would change her mind. Whether she would destroy the opportunity somehow. Whether the training center would suddenly withdraw their offer. Fear followed me everywhere. But the call never came. The offer remained. And as the start date approached, something else began happening. Customers noticed. News travels fast in Nigerian communities. Especially when people spend hours together in salons. Soon everyone knew. Binta got a new job. Binta is becoming an instructor. Binta is leaving. Some customers congratulated me. Others expressed surprise. A few even hugged me. One elderly woman held my hands and smiled. I always knew you were meant for bigger things. The comment stayed with me all day. Bigger things. For most of my life, I had never dared think that way. Then, 3 days before my start date, something unexpected happened. Mrs. Adebayo arrived at the salon. The moment she entered, customers greeted her warmly. She smiled at everyone before walking directly toward me. How are you feeling? Nervous. She laughed. Good. Good. Only people who care about their future get nervous. I smiled. Then her expression became serious. You've done well. I lowered my eyes. No, Ma. Yes. She shook her head. You've survived things that would have broken many people. Her words touched something deep inside me. For years, survival had felt ordinary. Necessary. Nothing special. But perhaps she was right. Perhaps surviving was an achievement too. Before leaving, she handed me a small package. I frowned. What's this? Open it later. Ma, you didn't have to. I know. She smiled. But I wanted to. That evening, after returning home, I opened the package. Inside was a beautiful notebook. And beside it lay something that made my hands tremble. A brand new smartphone. I stared at it in disbelief. For several seconds, I couldn't move. Attached to it was a handwritten note. Binta. Every professional needs a way to communicate with the world. Consider this an investment in your future. I believe in you. Mrs. Adebayo. Tears filled my eyes. Again. Lately, I seem to cry more than ever. Not because of sadness. Because people were beginning to show me kindness. The kind of kindness I had spent years longing for. As I sat on my bed holding the phone, a strange thought crossed my mind. Maybe my life was finally changing. Maybe the chapter of suffering was ending. Maybe. But life has a way of testing hope. And I had no idea that an even greater challenge was waiting just around the corner. A challenge that would force me to choose between the future I wanted and the family I was preparing to leave behind. The morning before my first day at the training center began like any other. I woke before sunrise, swept the compound, fetched water, prepared breakfast, completed every chore exactly as I had done for years. But inside, nothing felt ordinary. Every movement carried the weight of tomorrow. Tomorrow. The word echoed constantly in my mind. Tomorrow I would begin a new life. Tomorrow I would walk into a workplace where people knew my name because of my skills, not because of what they could gain from me. Tomorrow I would become something more than the girl everyone expected to remain silent. For the first time in years, I felt excited about the future. Unfortunately, life had other plans. Around midday, a loud scream shattered the peace of the compound. "Mama!" The voice belonged to Bintu. I dropped the towel I was folding and ran outside. What I saw made my blood run cold. Papa B was lying on the ground. His body was twisted awkwardly beside a wooden chair. One hand clutched his chest. His face was pale. Sweat covered his forehead. Mama B knelt beside him in panic. "Call somebody. Help. Please help." Everything happened at once. Neighbors rushed through the gate. Someone brought water. Someone called for transportation. Someone ran to fetch a local nurse. The compound exploded into chaos. I dropped beside Papa B immediately. "Papa." His eyes opened slightly. For a moment, he looked confused. Then he recognized me. "Binta." His voice was weak. Very weak. Fear gripped my heart. Real fear. The kind that squeezes your chest until breathing becomes difficult. Within minutes, neighbors helped carry him into a vehicle. The nearest hospital was nearly 30 minutes away. The journey felt endless. Mama B sat beside him crying openly. Bintu held his hand. I sat quietly in the corner, praying silently. "Please don't let him die. Please. Not now. Not after everything. Not after we had finally begun rebuilding our relationship." At the hospital, doctors immediately rushed him inside. The waiting room became our prison. Hours passed. Painfully slow hours. Nobody spoke much. Nobody ate. Nobody smiled. We simply waited. And waited. And waited. Finally, a doctor emerged. The moment he appeared, everyone stood. "Doctor. How is he?" The doctor removed his glasses. His expression was serious. He suffered a cardiac episode. Mama B nearly collapsed. Bintu burst into tears. I felt my knees weaken. The doctor quickly continued. "He is stable now." The relief was immediate. Visible. Almost physical. Everyone released a breath they had been holding for hours. But the doctor paused. The word frightened me. There was always a but. He needs proper treatment. The doctor's face remained serious. His condition has likely been developing for some time. Mama B wiped her tears. What does that mean? It means he cannot continue ignoring his health. The doctor explained medications, tests, monitoring, follow-up appointments. Then he mentioned the estimated cost. Silence filled the room. The amount wasn't impossible, but it was significant. Especially for a family already preparing to pay university fees for Bintu. I watched Mama B's face carefully. I could practically see the calculations happening inside her mind. Hospital bills. University expenses. Household costs. Salon expenses. Everything at once. For the first time in years, she looked frightened. Truly frightened. That evening, after Papa B was moved to a private room, I sat beside his bed. The machines beeped softly. The hospital smelled of disinfectant and medicine. For several minutes neither of us spoke. Then he smiled weakly. You should be preparing for tomorrow. The words caught me off guard. I looked away. Tomorrow can wait. He shook his head immediately. No. Papa. No. His voice remained weak but firm. You worked too hard for this opportunity. Tears gathered in my eyes. This isn't important right now. A faint smile appeared on his face. It is important. I lowered my head. I can't leave you here. He reached for my hand. His fingers felt cold. Fragile. My daughter. The words were barely above a whisper. You have spent too many years putting your life on hold. The tears finally escaped. I don't know what to do. For several moments he remained silent. Then he spoke softly. Leave. I looked at him. That's what you do. His tired eyes met mine. You leave. The room became quiet again. Outside the window, darkness slowly settled over the city. Finally, Papa B closed his eyes. Exhaustion pulling him toward sleep. Before drifting off, he whispered one last sentence. Don't sacrifice your future for my mistakes. I sat there long after he fell asleep. Thinking. Remembering. Questioning everything. The next morning arrived far too quickly. My first day. The day I had dreamed about. Yet instead of excitement, I felt torn apart. Part of me wanted to remain at the hospital. Part of me knew Papa B would never forgive me if I abandoned the opportunity. At 6 o'clock, Mama B entered the room. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The tension between us still existed. But something had changed. The hospital had stripped away some of the anger. Some of the pride. Some of the certainty. She looked older than usual. More tired. Finally, she spoke. You should go. I stared at her. Certain I had misheard. What? You heard me. Her voice lacked its usual sharpness. I'll stay with him. The words stunned me. Completely. She looked away. Almost uncomfortable. Then she added quietly. He would want you to go. I didn't know what to say. This was the same woman who had fought to keep me from leaving. The same woman who had treated my opportunity like a betrayal. Yet here she was. Telling me to take it. Maybe fear had changed her. Maybe seeing Papa B lying helpless in a hospital bed had forced her to see things differently. Or maybe, for the first time, she understood that holding on to me would not save anyone. Either way, the moment felt unreal. After a long silence, I nodded. Thank you. She didn't respond. But she didn't argue either. An hour later, I stood outside the training center. The same building that had once terrified me. The same gate I had nearly walked away from. Only this time, everything felt different. I wasn't there for an interview. I wasn't there as a visitor. I belonged there. The realization sent a wave of emotion through me. I adjusted my bag and took a deep breath. Around me, other instructors and trainees entered confidently. Some chatted with friends. Others carried folders and notebooks. A few looked nervous. Just like me. As I prepared to walk through the gate, my phone vibrated. A message. My heart immediately skipped. It was from an unknown number. I opened it. The message contained only one sentence. Congratulations, Instructor Binta. Welcome to your new beginning. I stared at the words for several seconds. Then I smiled. A real smile. The kind that comes from somewhere deep inside. Because for the first time since arriving in that house as a frightened 14-year-old girl, I wasn't walking toward someone else's future. I was walking toward my own. For a moment, I stood outside the gate staring at the message on my phone. Congratulations, Instructor Binta. Welcome to your new beginning. I read the words again. And again. Each time, they felt a little more real. Instructor Binta. Not apprentice. Not servant. Not helper. Instructor. The title felt strange. Almost too big for me. Yet somehow, it also felt right. For years, I had worked hard without recognition. For years, I had learned without certificates. For years, I had carried responsibilities that most people never noticed. Now, for the first time, those years meant something. Taking a deep breath, I slipped the phone into my bag and walked through the gate. The receptionist recognized me immediately. Her face brightened. Good morning, Instructor Binta. My heart nearly stopped. Again. That title. I smiled nervously. Good morning. She handed me a visitor badge. Orientation is taking place upstairs. Thank you. As I climbed the stairs, my palms grew sweaty. The building felt less intimidating than before. But I was still nervous. What if I failed? What if they realized they had made a mistake hiring me? What if everyone else knew more than I did? The questions followed me all the way to the training room. When I entered, nearly 20 people were already seated. Some looked older than me. Others looked younger. Most appeared confident. Educated. Professional. For a second, insecurity returned. Then I remembered something. I had earned my place there. Nobody had gifted it to me. Nobody had done me a favor. I belonged in that room. Slowly, I found an empty seat. The orientation began shortly afterward. The director of the center welcomed everyone. He spoke about professionalism, growth, opportunity, discipline. As I listened, something inside me awakened. For the first time, I wasn't hearing conversations about surviving. I was hearing conversations about building. Building careers. Building businesses. Building futures. The difference felt enormous. After the orientation ended, we were divided into departments. Several instructors introduced themselves. Then the director made an announcement. We would like each instructor to demonstrate their skills over the next few weeks. My stomach tightened immediately. A demonstration. In front of everyone. The fear returned. But before I could panic too much, a woman sitting beside me smiled. You'll be fine. I looked at her. She appeared to be around 30 years old. Friendly eyes. Kind smile. My name is Amora. Binta. I know. She laughed. Everyone knows. I blinked. What do you mean? You are the stylist Mrs. Adebayo recommended. I was surprised. People talk. She smiled. Especially when someone impresses the interview panel. It rushed to my cheeks. For the first time in years, people were speaking positively about me. Not because I worked hard for free. Because they respected my ability. The thought felt wonderful. Over the following days, I threw myself into the work. Every morning, I visited Papa B before reporting to the center. His condition improved slowly. The doctors remained optimistic. Seeing him smile each day gave me strength. At the training center, I learned quickly. Not just hairstyling techniques. Business management. Customer relations. Marketing. Financial planning. Things nobody had ever taught me before. Every lesson felt like discovering a missing piece of my life. One afternoon, an instructor asked a question during a workshop. How many of you hope to own your own business someday? Almost every hand went up. including mine. The moment I raised it, I froze. Because I realized something. For years, I had never allowed myself to dream that far. Owning a business had always seemed impossible. Something reserved for other people. Successful people. Educated people. Lucky people. But now, for the first time, I could actually imagine it. The possibility both excited and terrified me. That evening, while visiting Papa B, I shared the experience. His eyes lit up. Good. I smiled. Good. Dream bigger. I laughed softly. Bigger. Much bigger. The old man leaned back against his pillow. For years, you only thought about surviving. His voice was weak but steady. Now think about living. The word stayed with me long after I left the hospital. Meanwhile, life at home continued changing. Mama B was different. Not completely. But noticeably. She no longer ordered me around. She no longer treated me like I belonged to the salon. Sometimes she even asked about my day. The conversations felt awkward. As though neither of us knew how to speak to each other anymore. One evening, she surprised me. Binta. Yes. She hesitated. Then looked away. The customers keep asking about you. I smiled slightly. Really? She nodded. Some refused to let anyone else do their hair. For a second, neither of us spoke. Then she sighed. I didn't realize how much of the business depended on you. The statement wasn't exactly an apology. But it was closer than anything she had ever said before. And for now, that was enough. Weeks passed. Then months. Papa B eventually returned home. Slower than before. More careful. But alive. The day he walked back into the compound, everyone celebrated. Even the neighbors came to welcome him. That evening, the family sat together outside. The atmosphere felt different. Lighter. Healthier. For the first time in years, laughter filled the compound without tension hiding beneath it. As the conversation continued, Papa B suddenly cleared his throat. I have something to say. Everyone turned toward him. He looked at me. Then at Mama B. Then at Bintu. Finally, he spoke. This family made mistakes. The compound became quiet. We cannot change the past. Nobody interrupted. But we can choose what happens next. Mama B lowered her eyes. Bintu remained silent. Papa B turned toward me. I am proud of the woman you became. My throat tightened. And I am sorry for the years we cannot return. The words carried enormous weight. Years of guilt. Years of regret. Years of truth. Tears filled my eyes. But this time, they felt different. Lighter. Healing. For the first time, the apology didn't feel like a wound reopening. It felt like a wound finally beginning to close. A few months later, another surprise arrived. The training center offered me a permanent position. Not temporary. Permanent. Along with a salary larger than I had ever imagined earning. When I received the news, I sat quietly for several minutes. Unable to speak. Unable to think. 6 years earlier, I had arrived in that city carrying nothing but fear. Now I had a career. A salary. Respect. A future. And for the first time in my life, choices. Real choices. That night, I walked outside and looked up at the stars. The same stars that had watched me cry as a 14-year-old girl. The same stars that had witnessed my loneliness. My struggles. My sacrifices. Yet somehow, they looked different now. Maybe because I was different. Maybe because hope changes how the world appears. My phone suddenly vibrated. A message from Mrs. Adebayo. I heard the news. Congratulations. I always knew you would succeed. I smiled. Then typed a reply. Thank you for opening the first door. Her response came moments later. No, Binta. You opened it yourself. I only showed you where it was. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I looked toward the future. A future that no longer frightened me. A future that belonged to me. And as the cool evening breeze swept across the compound, I realized something important. The most powerful moment of my life wasn't getting the job. It wasn't leaving the salon. It wasn't earning money. It was the moment I finally believed I deserved more. Because the day I stopped seeing myself as trapped was the day my freedom truly began. And this time, no one could take it away.